Hey there, everybody. Hope you're doing well. Let's do this. Business. I can put a comment in here. Business AMA session. That's what we're doing today. Pin it. All right. So I hope everyone's doing well. Let's do it this way. Get a little bit of a different angle here. I'm just signing into Facebook, Instagram, so that way you're aware of what I'm doing. As I'm doing it here real quick, just putting a title in. Business AMA session for Friday Q&A with Carrie. Yeah. Carrie and Sherman. Hey, what's going on? Hope you're all doing well. If you have any questions, feel free to just put them below. We're going to be answering a bunch of Ask Me Anything questions when it comes to what's on your mind. We are excited. I have a little bit of a headache today, but other than that, we are doing good. And I have a bunch of questions, so if you don't have any, we'll be answering a bunch of questions that people have sent to me over the last week. So it should be a productive go live session. So just logging in here, Facebook Live, through actually my group, the Top of Mind group that Carrie Ann Kennedy and I run. So right now I have Facebook going live, Instagram going live, and so we're going to be talking today's session about Ask Me Anything. So feel free to put any questions that you have below in the comment section, and we'll answer them. So we're going to start just by going back to I had done an AMA feed, an Ask Me Anything feed recently through amafeed.com. And so you put in there the different keywords, the things that you want to talk to people about. And so that's what I got about, I think, 35 questions that people had asked. And so I text back to them. At the same time, I use it as a way to be able to create a lot of video content. So here we go. First question comes from Arlene Costo. She says, do you set aside specific time to cast vision to your employees and to other leaders? So let's address that. First, with employees, I have a little bit more opportunity to be able to cast vision with them, or basically get them to buy in on the vision of the organization by being able to make sure that we focus in first and foremost on where do they see the business. At the same time, let me share with them where I see the business. And so typically you can do those in either weekly meetings and definitely monthly meetings, where you're making sure that they're still aligned with you and the organization on where you're headed. With other leaders in the organization, you're going to be able to make sure that that they still see the vision the same way that you do. And so definitely monthly meetings. It doesn't need to be long-winded. It's an opportunity to continually communicate that vision. And so you want to be able to be saying the vision so often to them and then living the vision that they know what it is. So even though it might be completely redundant, you're going to say it all over again and they're going to buy in on it. Next question comes from Leora. She asks, what is one characteristic that you believe every leader should possess in order to set example? And I said compassion. Compassion to me, to the employees that report to you, is extremely vital for a leader. Another one is to be able to have compassion for those that you're training and developing to become the next level of leaders. The next one is compassion for your customers or your clients, being able to see from their perspective why they'd want to work with you, what some of their concerns might be, and that allows you to really think about things differently on how you want to approach them. Next question comes to us from Nora Batran. She asks, how do you react to adapting new technology to add new skills to the leadership qualities in individuals? So number one, technology is fantastic. At the same time, don't allow that to be the reason why you're able to connect with people. So it's a great tool that you can use technology, let's say like Facebook or Instagram or these social media websites. Remember, they're communication tools, just like texting and phone calls are. And so use them as a way to be able to connect with people. So before I go to one-on-one meetings, a lot of times I will look up that individual online, and I'll see what they've been up to. Have they been posting on LinkedIn? Are they been posting on Facebook? And if they did, what were they talking about? Was it personal? Was it business? And then that way I can just share that with them, and that way I stay a little bit more connected on what's going on in their world, and that can be really impactful. That's just an example of leveraging technology in order to be an impactful leader. However, it becomes extremely important that you understand when it comes to emotional intelligence, there's no technology piece that's going to help you be having a higher level of EQ, right? Emotional quotient or emotional intelligence. It's not going to be there because they're just tools. They're communication tools. Technology that comes allows us to be a little bit more efficient with our time. It can't necessarily make us, it makes us effective with our time, but we can't make efficient. So for example, you can't say, okay, over the next 5 minutes, we're going to have a nice conversation, employee, and we're going to establish trust to the point that you just start telling me everything. It's not going to work that way. You need to be able to make sure that you're having those one-on-one connections to really connect with people in a way that's meaningful. Next question comes to us from Justria. Sorry, I totally mispronounced that. Question is, what are the emerging opportunities you see in career advancement in the coming years? So first thing that comes right out of my mind is your trades, electricians, plumbers, mechanics, welders, even drivers. There's 30,000 truck drivers, like people with CDLs, deficient in logistics here in the United States. 30,000 jobs. Huge opportunity. So if you wanted to be able to build things with your hands, huge opportunity. With the silver tsunami, that's the baby boomers exiting the workforce, it's going to create quite a huge opportunity in those spaces. The next one, you start getting real technical. Engineering, things that come to mind is like nanotechnology, AI, VR, data mining, and more importantly, with all that data analysis. What is all that data meaning? So I think if you have that kind of engineering mindset where you can take a bunch of data and be able to synthesize it in a way that's meaningful for a business or an individual, that's a huge opportunity. The next business that I think, anything that's in nanotechnology, huge opportunity as well. Social media is just beginning. Graphic designers, videographers, there's huge opportunity in the marketing arena. It's going to totally change. You're going to see a lot more people that have chops to play in the social media space. Not necessarily they went and got a degree in photography or videography. Might not be as valuable if you can crush out content, using Adobe Photoshop or Adobe Video and create some amazing storytelling. That's what matters, not your education. Next is from January, XVI, or also 16, if you're familiar with Roman numerals. So January 16 asks, from all the videos you've made, which one is your favorite and why? So my favorite video that I've made right now is the first one. If you go onto my YouTube and scroll way down, thousands of videos later, you're going to come to the first one that I made. It's October of 2016. And that's when the reason why it's important is because, and I'm 100% extrovert, so just understand this context. I was making some training videos for the company I was making, but I was going to make them public. And so I remember sitting on the couch, staring at the wall. It's about midnight or 1 a.m, and I sat there for about 3 hours. And I'm debating with myself whether to make these videos or not. And finally, after 3 hours of sitting there, I was like, just do it. Boom. And so literally I hacked this thing up. I have 2 cardboard boxes on top of each other to make it like eye level. And I have a laptop angled, and I have my cell phone selfie camera aiming at me. And I'm trying to angle it so that way you don't catch the front of the keyboard. as I'm creating this video. So I'm totally hacking this thing together. No mic, nothing special, no selfie stick, and I had laid out basically all my t-shirts and shirts with all my t-shirts and polos, because every video I'm going to change, so that way you see a different view in my videos. And so that's what I did. I ended up cranking out like 25 videos over the next few hours of that day, from like 3 in the morning till 7. Everyone was asleep in the house. That one is powerful. The other one is that I recently actually excuse me. Whoa. The one that I just retweeted today and reshared Flashback Friday was how Facebook changed my life. I think a lot of times these social media tools get some bad press. The ROI truly is unlimited when it comes to social media, because what are they? They're communication tools. It's like, what's the ROI of a telephone? Yeah, if people use scams to be able to get people, get people's money and, kind of hoodwink them. Thank you, Carrie Ann. Sure, people can use the telephone for evil ways, for horrible ways, but you can use them for fantastic things. And a lot of times, social media is just revealing character. A lot of people have all up in arms over a couple comedians that have said some really inappropriate things. Roseanne Barr, which comes to mind because she said that really rude thing. When you correlate someone to an animal, typically not a good thing, except lions, right? So somebody says, hey, you're a lion, you're a lioness. That's probably a compliment. But this one, and so her show got canceled. So the downside of that is not only did did it affect her world, but it affected everybody that's associated with that show. So the whole show's canceled, right? Producers, executive producers, directors, writers. There's a lot of people that make TV shows. So they're all out of a job because somebody decided to open their gapper on Twitter and got everybody canceled. And on top of it, it's syndicated on some other TV shows, and now that's been canceled. And so does Twitter, did that create Roseanne Barr to be that kind of callous? No. She's always had comedy that was pretty edgy to begin with. So unfortunately, she went over that line and got herself in deep doo-doo. All right. So Facebook changed my life. And then next question comes from Chris, 1990. She asked, what are your goals and expectations for the rest of the year? What do you hope to accomplish? Great question. Hope to accomplish finishing my book. It's called Keep On Keeping On, and where I talk about a multitude of topics from, and I have fun with my last name. My last name's On, O-N, and so I just have fun with that. So one's on perseverance, so it's like keep on. The other one's On the Money, where I talk a little about finances, which I'll have to get approved by here, the company. And then I talk about leadership and career progression and business strategy a little bit in there. And so it's just a bunch of different themes that I'm passionate about that I want to be able to share in some of this fun theme of Keep On Keeping On. And I really write more in like a bullet point form, because that's kind of what I prefer, is just give me the meat. I don't need a lot of, filler words or phrases kind of go in and out. So that's kind of the idea. Bring snacks, Dean, my man. I'd love to bring you on, but I have all these questions I got to go through on this business AMA. So we're just going to keep hammering through. But maybe you and I should schedule a live session together. So then Kama asks, have you received any positive feedback from people who listens and watches your videos? Number one is I use what I call the Cinderella method. If the feedback works, if the shoe fits, then wear it. If not, then kind of move on. And so a lot of people are going to give you some good thoughts on what you do. When you decide to put yourself out there, people are going to like your haircut. They're going to like your clothes. They're going to like what you say. They're not going to like what you wear. They're not going to like what your haircut looks like. They're not going to like what you say. That's totally fine. I don't need every single person that consumes the content to like me personally. And nor am I married to what I'm saying, because I'm not all-knowing. And so I don't see every single perspective that exists out there. So if I say, for example, I don't really like Snapchat, that'll be a question down here later, someone else might come in and be like, it's the greatest tool, and here's why. Perfect. It doesn't mean by you having a different view to me, it takes away from who I am or away from you. All right. Next question comes from Mitch, and he asks, what is your least favorite social media platform and why? That would be Snapchat, because ultimately Snapchat to me is like a texting video communication tool, not necessarily a social media platform. So I think it gets a little bit confused because you can connect with anybody, but you could do the same thing in like Marco Polo, which is a video capturing kind of walkie-talkie, go back and forth, video sharing communication tool. So think of it, if you really think about Snapchat, it's got some fun things like filters and geo, GPS kind of location stuff. But ultimately, when you think about what it is, it's basically a walkie-talkie version for video to go back and forth. And so you can do it in group setting, you can do it individually. And so for me personally, because I'm based on my audience, because I talk about leadership and career progression and social media and business strategies, for me, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and then my YouTube channel, my podcast, those really are the ones that are taking my attention. Because the demographic of Snapchat is a little bit younger than typically who I talk to, it doesn't necessarily lend itself for me having a lot of presence there. But I know other people that leverage it very, very strong, and so good for them. Not something I'm down with. The other thing I don't really care for is filters. I mean, look at this moneymaker. This thing is on point. What did my boy Dean says? I brought on a full-time personal assistant and decided to go all in on one niche specialty within Facebook advertising. That's a smart move right there. So when it comes to marketing, sometimes it's easier to go all in, sliver, go like a mile deep, and be a specialist. And to your point, Dean, you're taking the medium that has over 2 billion active users. Smart move. Really good odds. The way that they're making different moves is that that's got a lot of play for the next 10, 20, 30 years. They want to be around for the long haul. So good move. What are the top 3 disciplines or advice for young business owners like me? Unless there are questions that, no, let's go for Dean right now. So let me re-ask that question. He says, what are your top 3 disciplines for young business owners like me, or advice? So number one thing that I would say to any business owner that's new to running their business, it doesn't matter about age. Okay, let me just tell you that. So even if you're 50 years old, this advice is still going to hold true. Dean, you're just ahead of the game because you're smart enough to ask people to get advice. Okay, so the first one that I would say when it comes to being a business owner is you want to be able to figure out how you can be a powerful leader. And I mean that by how can you lead others in a way that you can get them to buy in on your vision. So you could do it Steve Jobs' way, where he was really known for being very authoritative, very dictator-ish, where he didn't have a problem like kind of chewing somebody out using some really crass language, not making that person feel very well, but it got results that he was looking for. He was very visionary, right? Saw the world in a very unique way and pushed that. And that might be your style. I wouldn't encourage that style. For me personally, I'm more of a lover than a hater of people. And I think when you insult people by making them feel small, it doesn't make you look big. It makes you look like a moron. But I think sometimes it still gets results for some people. So I wouldn't encourage that. I would figure out, though, how you can be a leader to inspire people, to rally them around one singular vision that you're all going towards something. The next thing that I would say when it comes to, Dean says he's a lover, zero negativity. I believe that because Dean is a fantastic human being. So number 2 is, so if you're a leader and you're rallying people around your vision, the next thing you want to be able to make sure that you do is figure out what your ultimate strengths are. So you might be a salesperson. So when you start running a business, you might be amazing at selling the story, at getting people to buy in. And if that's your strength, that means more likely than not, you're going to suck at the small details. So that first person that you hire will start knowing more details about the business than you do. And that's exactly what you want. You want to bring people on that have better talents than you. So if you bring someone on, like let's say to do some video editing for you, they better have better chops than you. They better be able to pull in from a whole multitude of music genres that add value to that video and storytelling, and they know how to create the different movements of that video, the different filters, the different fade-ins, the fade-outs, to be able to make it meaningful. And if they have those chops, you want to see if they have the ability to gain that skill set to surpass you. Because it reminds me of, I ran into this business owner down in Milwaukee, and even family members would tell me it's a family-owned business, that the problem is that Dad treated everybody like they were below him. Dad had to be the smartest person in the room, always. The problem with the business is it gets stuck, right? It will not overshoot that person's own intelligence because it doesn't let anybody step above him in the knowledge realm, right? So he is the expert. So no matter what everybody else says, sorry, everything's got to go through him. Bad way to run the business. Really large business, by the way. Had about 500 employees. Dean also says, emails, proposals, scheduling is my worst skill. So what Dean's basically emphasized is that his personal assistant, that's exactly the smartest move that he did. He brought somebody in that's probably great at the small details, knows how to get things done. So first we focused on leadership skills and really focusing on getting people to buy into that vision. Think about the Wright brothers. They weren't promising people the opportunity to fly. It was the idea, can we get man to fly? So they were able to get people to buy in on, and again, they ran a bike shop. They weren't like aeronautical engineering didn't even exist back then, right? So they ran a bike shop, but they were able to get people to buy in on this idea to get man to fly. No promise of anything, right? Mark Zuckerberg was able to get people to buy in on this idea of this Facebook thing. And yeah, you had MySpace kind of out there a little bit, but it was still so new. And it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to give you billions of dollars. This is $1 billion idea. Because you hear people say that, oh, this is going to be the next Uber. No, just do it. And then let's make predictions later. So if you can get people to rally around that vision, extremely critical. Leader with vision, and you can sell it. Next is look at your skill set, know what you're good at, and then hire people to that. So I think of it like this. Let's say you're making $120 right now where you're working. And if you decide to go all in and you make $120 running solo, I'd figure out how I can reduce my income, make 80, make 40, and hire. So I'd rather, as an entrepreneur, make 40 and have 2 other staff people that make 40, total revenue in $120. So the still exactly the same, 120,000, but guess what? I got 3 people now all running hard and heavy on the same thing. And guess what? 3 people is greater than 1. I don't care how skilled you are, how amazing, how much hours you put in. 3 people, especially if you hired right, and you probably did because you got an ego, then you hired 2 awesome people. Those 3 people, because one of them's you, are going to be better than you on your own. However, a lot of times entrepreneurs, business owners, when they first start out, it's all about them. It's got to be me. If it's not, it's like the dumbest phrase that people constantly say to me is, well, if it's got to be done, it's got to be done by me. No, that means you've done wrong. You've hired like a moron because you didn't get the right people in. Now you aren't a moron. You hired like one though. Okay, there's a difference. I'm not insulting you. I'm just insulting your recruiting process. So there you go, Dean. Hopefully that's helpful. Next, none. So any more questions? Put them below, guys. Nunnally asks, how many years would one wait to get a promotion before finally moving on to the next and starting a new career? So one is it's not about time. It's all about satisfaction. The moment that you find yourself not enjoying what you're doing, time to change. It's okay. Change careers, change industries. Because once you realize you're not getting the same satisfaction and you're going to find it somewhere else, you're going to find yourself in a much better position. Dean says, thank you. Helps so much. Leadership skills, loving positivity, leader with vision, staff, yep, owner's weaknesses. Thank you. You are welcome. And then, so in this idea, it's not about time, okay? But at the same time, understand that there's things that you got to know. So when it comes to promotions, a lot of people, they think that if I check in and I work really hard, I'm going to get promoted. It doesn't work that way. Look, What's the next job above you to get promoted? What's that job description look like? What are all the different bullet points that you need to have? And how do you in your current role show that you can take on those next roles? And so if you can't do all those next bullet points in your promotion, why would the company then promote you to that next level? So if it says there that you understand the profit and loss statement of the division, do you understand the profit and loss statement of the division? Because if you don't even understand it in your small little role, how the heck are we going to promote you to the next level and have you fail? So the other thing is, and this really comes down to the organization that you belong to, is the managers and leaders above you, are they helping you grow? Are they people builders? And so with that, are they helping you move towards that next level? And if they aren't, I would run to the hills. I just would. In today's world, right, like unemployment is like at an all-time low globally, and especially in the United States, all-time low, super low. So what does that mean? That means you as an employee have the opportunity to work anywhere if you have the skills. And so that gives you the opportunity to find an organization that's going to help you win. And organizations that aren't focused on helping employees get to where they want to go will never find themselves getting out of the rut of plateau. And every business finds themselves in some form of plateau. Typically, business owner, as they start up, they have this nice ramp, and then they plateau. Typically, the plateau is due to staff. They haven't hired in the right staff. So imagine if all your time that you came in from when you clocked in 7 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock at night, or 8 to 5, 9 to 6, whatever hours you run, and all you did was your strength. So I think about a guy like Dean. Imagine if every single hour that you spent of the day was in front of businesses and talking to them about what their struggle was and how you could deliver. And then everybody just came in behind you, almost like, it reminds me of a parade that I went to in Oregon, the Rose Parade, just beautiful. Oregon, by the way, is a really clean city. Immediately after all the parade is done, guess what follows up behind them? Street cleaners, cleaning up all the garbage. And that's exactly what you want to be able to have from a business perspective, from a process, is you have your salespeople go in, and it might be even you, goes in, makes it happen, and who's running right behind you? The technicians. Boom, boom, boom. Hey, Samantha, I know Dean just talked with you about getting that Facebook ad going. What we need from you is boom, boom, boom. Send us over that logo. Let's get some content. Let's schedule something in. We're going to start creating that video for you. We want to be able to hammer it in. And what that produces to them is follow through and persistency and drive. And that's what people see. And so that with that process, you're able to move through. Now, at the same time, I understand that where businesses are, sometimes it doesn't go that route. And so you need to be able to find out. So one of the big concerns that a lot of business owners have is, well, let's say I get all these employees up and running and they're awesome and they're crushing it, and then they decide to go to a competitor. Fine, because now you're going to be known as the greatest creator of videographers in the world, right? And so people are going to want to come to you because they know they're going to get the best opportunity to up their game and get even better. So back in the 90s, it was very well known, and even to the early 2000s, so almost for 2 decades, it was known if you want to get good at management, you go to GE. GE is the management place to go. They created their own Six Sigma, is internal, and so that's what they'd help people do, how to basically manage teams. And so people, when they went through GE and they wanted to go to a different company, guess what? They almost had their pick of the litter. They could go almost any industry, and they could transfer that skill set of leadership and management into healthcare, into automotive, into banking, finance, etc. It happens all the time. So don't worry about time. Worry about what you're doing. Next one, Ria 27 asks, how can an employee kindly tell his or her boss / leader that he or she is being unreasonable? So they feel overwhelmed is really kind of what it comes down to. Number one is hopefully you have a close enough relationship where you can approach your manager or leader this way. Number one is, I would say, have this behind closed doors. Calling, a boss out and be like, oh my gosh, you're like throwing everything on me in front of your coworkers. It might sound like a good idea. It doesn't translate well because automatically the manager is going to be defensive and smack you right back. So the other thing to do, number two, which helps which helps so many people out there, is either to write it down or in some way get out your specific examples of what you're doing task-wise, so that way when you have a conversation, it's not emotional, it's specific, and at the same time have some suggestions. So I'll give you a perfect example of this, the way that it should work out. So you feel overwhelmed that you're being straddled with way too many tasks. So you decide, hey boss, do you mind if you and I have a one-on-one conversation? I want to talk to you about my role and just how I'm feeling about things. And it's a good conversation. Just want to kind of bounce some things off your wanted to see if you had 15 minutes. So they say, yep, let's schedule some time next week. I'll talk to you about it. So what I decided to do is write a bunch of bullet points of specific things that I'm working on and in my role, and I think about, okay, here's my role, here's the next role, and these are all the things that I'm doing that's already doing that other role. And unfortunately, sometimes in organizations, right, if someone gets fired, they just roll that onto your shoulders, and all of a sudden now you're doing two jobs, but you're getting paid for one. So you don't want to come out and say, hey, give me more money, but let's, again, just put it down on the piece of paper what you're doing, and then flow it through. So then we come to that meeting. I don't want to sit across from that person because now it's going to be somewhat confrontational. I'm going to sit diagonally, right? So they're sitting behind their desk. I'm sitting over here. Hopefully hopefully they're not behind a desk, so that way that creates this wall. You want to be able to have more of an open. So maybe even have it in a conference room. They sit at the head of it. You sit at the next side, and then I would just say, hey, here's some of the things that that are good, that are going well. These are some of the things that I'm struggling with. I'm finding that I'm having a ton of tasks that I'm doing, and here's what's happening, right? I'm being brought onto all these different projects. What is your feedback to me on how I can prioritize this? At the same time, can I get some feedback from you on if they're going to replace that other person, or if there's any talk of hiring somebody into our department because we're dealing with a lot more? And so allow that manager then to say things. So if we focus on the situation, we focus on the unreasonable amount of tasks, it's overwhelming, then it's not about his or her management style. It's about all these tasks that need to get done, and you're feeling overwhelmed. So the manager might say, "Oh, why are you doing that? That should be on my plate." Or "Why are you doing that? That should be the other staff person's job. Let's get that off your plate." You're right. I'm going to go to my boss, and we're going to get somebody in here to take care of that. And so then, hey, 2 weeks go by. Hey, any word on getting that new employee in, right? And so then at the same time, they might go to you and say, what do you think you should do instead? And then you might say, I think we should hire somebody. I think if I'm going to continue to do this role, I'm doing it for two people. I think maybe there's an opportunity for me to have a different title just based on all my opportunity. And so I'm coming at it from a perspective of I want career advancement versus I want money. I think sometimes we come at it with money, and that just the translation gets missed there, that they're basically saying, okay, so you're working hard, so you think you should get paid more. Nah, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I want to be treated correctly. Okay. Next question. Anna GGC asks, do you believe that social media marketing, digital marketing can replace traditional marketing? Not completely. Where I think is there's going to be a translation of some happy medium. So let me just give you an example. Right now, if you look at traditional marketing, let's put it in radio, TV, Yellow Pages, billboards. So basically, the Yellow Pages don't exist. You get some regional stuff, but basically, billboards are garbage, busing's garbage, radio, newspapers are basically almost a dead industry to begin with. Except, again, your regional ones. If you're able to find it to make it profitable, Warren Buffett, by the way, loves newspapers and hasn't been able to figure out how to make newspapers or seen a model of newspapers be profitable. Therefore, he doesn't invest in any newspapers as a company as a whole. And then TV. So then when we think about digital marketing, let's talk about like social media marketing. So we're thinking about Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, Pinterest, YouTube, Spotify, it goes on and on, right? So we're using like basically online. And where I'd say is the thing about online is it's laser focused. If I pay you $500 to be a part of a radio ad, you're showing me on a map my mileage, and you're telling me who listens to it. Based on what? So in other words, I give you money, $500 a month. You're going to play my ad at different spots. How do we know who's actually listening to that stuff? I don't. That's their answer. I don't. But I know we're going to get this many people. Okay. I believe you. But if I do the exact same thing, $500 into Facebook, and I can know what their age is, I can actually even aim it at a specific age. I can actually aim it with people with specific keywords based on their profile. And I can narrow it into the exact same zone that you have, that mileage thing that you just showed me on the radio, and I can know exactly how many people view that specific post. So you tell me, what's a better use of money? Exact same dollar amount. One, it's passive, right? That's what I consider TV and radio and billboards and Yellow Pages. Yellow Pages actually is just garbage. I mean, literally, they go straight to the garbage. They go straight to recycling. Nobody reads it except the people that actually bought the own ad. You look at the Yellow Pages because you just spent $500 to be in there. Throw it away. It's garbage. So, yes, talk facts, not emotion. That's what Carrie Ann said from last time, from the last comment. And so that's where you have real results. Facebook, I have metrics. I have analytics. I can go back to you and say, guess what? This video that we created for you, yeah, it cost you $1,000 to do. But now we can post that $1,000 video year after year, year after year. So although it seems like it's $1,000 today, if I use that same post every Christmas for the next 3 years, the cost truly is $333.33. Year one, same cost year two, same cost year three. And you can post that anytime you want. So it reminds me of the commercials. Think about it for Christmas that you see, holiday season, whatever, of the bells of the Hershey Kisses. That's an old, I think it's like 5, maybe even 8 years old. They keep recycling that same thing. And so that's the value of being able to leverage that tool. Next is, develop the company's foundation. Get the brand developed first. When that's done, in my opinion, you had 30 hours a week to hire someone, $2,000 a month, get on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube first. Master that first in addition to content, email marketing, and then expand to paper marketing or other sources. I think so. Dean hits it right on the head. Think about the digital marketing. It's going to cost you $0 to do it on your own. So time, let's be honest, because time does cost, right? So you're either having an employee do it or you're hiring a company like Dean's to be able to come and do your digital marketing. And then you can go backwards into these quote unquote traditional. Now, when it comes to actual costs, right? So if we start separating out costs, when it comes back to the question of traditional being overtaken by digital, I don't think it's going to get taken over, but it'll definitely fall, right? So the cost of running a TV ad right now in my small community is at least $800 a month or $1,000, okay? And then they want you to do that for 6 months or a year. So there's a certain amount of contract. So you're looking at maybe $6,000 to $12,000. And I live in a small community, so I know my costs are way low compared to other cities. Like Dean's in San Diego. Cost of advertising there on TV is going to be through the roof. It's probably going to be tens of thousands than it is hundreds of thousands just for a small ad that's barely getting placed, barely getting attention, maybe 2 a.m. And so with that price is going to totally plummet because just think about this. How many of you actually watch TV? NBC, CBS, ABC, Fox, who actually watches that? And then think about how many people are watching YouTube, Netflix, Hulu, YouTube. Just think about that. Heck, and the problem is you don't have attention when people are watching it. Anyway, so just something just to think about. All right, $10,000 a month. There you go. Boom, minimum in San Diego. $10,000 a month, easy. So $120,000 just to get on the TV. So you think about that kind of cost. Even if you deploy the exact same dollar amount into Facebook, I can't even imagine what that would look like. I think you would literally dominate Facebook in a specific community for like forever. Like everybody that's on Facebook in your community would know who you are if you spent that much money. I would love a company, Dean, to do that with you and to give the feedback. Say, okay, hey, we're going to take all of our marketing dollars and funnel it all to Facebook. Get rid of all that other garbage, shove it all into Facebook, and let's see what happens after 1 year. What has more attention? What has more value? What has more reach? What has more results? And I could bet dollars to donuts, because today's National Donut Day, that it's going to be Facebook. Facebook will crush TV from an impact perspective. And by the way, I see that in my own personal brand just doing nothing. Well, I've boosted a few things actually just to be able to understand how Instagram and Facebook works. But I know for myself, it grabs awareness, and I'm a nobody. I'm not a business that has 500 employees or 1,000 employees. Huge opportunity. Anyway, let's move on. Next one. So at some point, though, I think they'll kind of balance out. I think pricing for TV will totally plummet, and then there'll be an opportunity for it to kind of balance out. And so you'll still find, if you're going for that more silver tsunami demographic that actually watches the news, then maybe that might still be valuable. However, I was in a McDonald's the other day. Yes, I was. I was getting myself a breakfast, and plus I got Wi-Fi. And there was she was 75, 83-year-old woman in there, and she was doing this on her cell phone. She's scrolling through Facebook, looking at the grandkiddies, looking at her daughter or son, checking out what's going on, because she's got it right on her phone. So the demographic is changing, and we're aging, right? Facebook's been around like 11 years. Guess what? We're all aging up. All right. So School Ulu asks, how important is it to stick to your Monday to Friday podcast schedule? It's not. I'm not married to it, but for those that don't know, podcast Mondays, leadership, Tuesdays, career progression, Wednesdays, motivation, Thursday, social media, Friday, personal development. That's how I run my podcast, because I don't want you to feel like you have to listen to every word that comes out of my mouth. It's the idea that, hey, if you're into leadership, then you just tune into the Crazy Asian podcast every single Monday. If you decide that you're all into personal development, again, it's Friday. So then you can skip every other day, because you don't want to listen to that, and that way it's succinct for you. You can just grab and gobble what you want and move on. That's why I do my podcast and topic. However, certain things come up, I do what I call bonus time, and that's exactly what I'll do when I call into the phone. And that's how I use Anchor. It's a phone app in order to do my podcast. Make it super simple. Next question comes from Christian Dale. She asks, or he, are you able to generate income by posting videos on YouTube? Yes, you can, and no, I don't. So to answer this question is I have probably over 1,100 or 1,200 videos. No, maybe it's closer to 1,500 videos. Gobs of videos on YouTube. So the biggest unique thing on the YouTube versus any other channel is that's where I put up the Crazy Asian vlog. So I kind of recap what's going on in the day. It's my version of journaling. Welcome. And so we're doing a business Ask Me Anything. And so in my YouTube channel, you can ask it to generate income off of ads. And so based on how many people watch it, and they'll have ads at the end, ads at the front, or you can put a banner ad. Then again, that's how you generate revenue. But mines do not. All right. So then Cadlane asks, who are your usual target audiences for your videos, and are you able to reach out to your target and get some unexpected audiences? Yeah, so I think my target audience is typically 18 and older, people that are working, people that want to advance their career, people that are out there hustling. I'd say probably just based on my vernacular, like I'm not vernacular, right? Based on my words, my choices, I'm probably the person that somebody wants a little more intellectual conversation. Like I'm not gonna curse on my videos typically, because I find that unprofessional. At the same time, if you decide that you're gonna curse, that's your choice, right? Like I'm not poo-pooing on that. Do authentically you. I just don't do that. So it's just, you're not gonna get it here. I might say poop or crap or whatever, douchebag. Those things come in here, but again, it's pretty clean. And so I want to be able to make sure that I'm authentically me. And so what's interesting, though, is that my son and a buddy of his, and they're 11, they actually subscribe to the YouTube, and they actually watch some videos. And so it's pretty cool that it's gotten younger. So that's an unexpected audience that's kind of come in. Next is Zella. Zella, she asks, have you ever considered writing a book about the topics you usually cover in your videos? Yes, it's coming out. Keep on keeping on. Next is why YouTube. The reason why I like YouTube is because it's a great place to be able to just shove a bunch of content, right? So I shoved a bunch of videos that were unedited up there, and eventually when I get a videographer, then they can go through and they'll have gobs of content forever. Not forever, but for a very, 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 very long time, because I'll continue to keep creating content, and they'll be able to have a job for a long time just editing content, re-putting out, editing things, shortening it up, making teasers, etc., etc. Do you stream on podcasts and other platforms? Yes, I do. I love live streaming. I like live streaming from the perspective that it gives me an opportunity to get in front of people all over again that we haven't talked to in a while. So that can be powerful. Sorry, that thing was kind of in my way. It annoyed me. And so I like live streaming because I enjoy that engagement. Not everybody likes the engagement of the live session. For me, it like gets me excited. I love engaging with you. You can put questions below in the comments. You can send out a heart attack below. You can send out likes. You can make it's very interactive to me, and so I treat it just like if I were to be speaking to you publicly. That's kind of the idea. I want it to be as if I'm in your own bedroom. Because if you think about it, if you're watching me from your phone, I am in your car. I am with you side by side as we drive down the road. If you're watching, if you're watching me while you're taking a dump, I am there in the bathroom with you. It's fantastic because even though I'm there with you, I'm not. So it's a very personal connection when you think about the live session. Next is Paula. Paula asks, can you suggest some leadership books that are helpful in today's modern world? Now, when it comes to leadership principle books, they have taken the test of time. So they have lasted the test of time because these principles are truths. They don't change. So some of the ones that come up, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, that's a 20-year anniversary book. Phenomenal principles that are taught in there. There's the ones I wrote down, Start With Why, David and Goliath, Speed of Trust, the Oz Principle, 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, Good to Great, Crucial Conversations, The Influencer, Charisma, I really like that book, Who Moved the Cheese, 4 Discipline, and 12-Week Year. So a lot of it, in my belief, when it comes to leadership is you need to focus on self-development, know who you are, know what your strengths are, know your abilities, and then move to the next level. Leadership 101 is how do I lead others, how do I communicate with others, listening skills, introduction to emotional intelligence. Leadership 201 to me is now we get into negotiation, we get into conflict resolution, we get into getting people to buy in on a vision, encouraging others, finding inspiration from others, helping people be inspired by their own and be motivated by themselves. That's a different level of skill set. And then, of course, my opinion, 301 is you as a leader, how are you developing other people to be leaders? That's powerful. That Good to Great, they refer to that as like a level 5 leader. Great question. What are your thoughts about shifting careers after years of working in the same industry? Great question. Now, this stat comes to me from like almost 20 years ago. That people in their career in the United States will change their career and industry 7 times. That is huge. It'll be almost uncommon to start at one company and not change anything, right? Not change your role or not change your company. So my brother, who's an accountant, surprisingly is at the exact same company he started with right out of college. Very impressive. The amazing thing about it is the company that he started with, when he first started there, is 6 times larger from an employee standpoint globally than what it was when he first started. So he partnered himself up with a great organization that went through the roof. Other people at the exact same time partnered up with a company called Arthur Andersen. And if you're familiar with them, they were in the whole Enron debacle. And so they totally don't even exist anymore. And so it was luck to a certain extent that got him going to the company that he went to. Other brother of mine, he's a graphic designer, has gone from different company, stayed in the same industry of tech, but has changed from like projection screens to cell phones to consumer products. And so he's actually even moved locations, cities, San Diego, Houston, Austin, Corvallis, Oregon. So he's been all over. And so totally normal. The toughest part for you is to be able to handle that. Can you handle the change of companies, the change of scenery? I think it's okay to change. Remember, you're taking skills and talents and you're going to translate to that different places as you go. So if you were in healthcare and you crushed it because you're a project manager or hospital administrator, that skill set of leadership, that skill set of understanding the customer, understanding your employees, that can get translated to anywhere. Mayeth asks, What books are you currently reading about leadership, motivation, personal development can you recommend? So I've already just recommended all those that I just said, so I'm not going to repeat myself. But the one that I'm reading right now is called Relentless, From Good to Great to Unstoppable. I like that word, unstoppable. That just sounds fantastic. Then Danny Loza asks, what are the most sought out services people look for in me? So me personally, people look for is strategy. Biggest thing. Whether it's talking about their business, whether it's their personally, they're talking about what they're doing from a, I would say from a personal level, with what they're doing with their life. That's what people come to me for. And not that I'm a therapist, and not that, but I am pretty strategic. It's definitely one of my strengths. A lot of that comes from asking questions and then listening. So 2 eyes, 2 ears, 1 mouth. Using that ratio. 2 eyes, watch their body language. Observe what they're doing. Hearing, actually listening to what they're saying. Not thinking about what I'm going to talk about next. And then finally, you speak. So why do some things that come out of my mouth sound profound? Is because a good chunk of what I do is listen to somebody else. If I'm on a phone call, and I've done this in a live session, you can see it in YouTube, I listen a ton. And let the other person just express themselves. That's them expressing themselves. Next, Dejan asks, where are you currently based? Wausau, Wisconsin. Big town. I think if you take like all the surrounding area, the entire county is 134,000 people. So that's the whole county. That's like 1,500 square miles. And then the question goes, in Western countries, do you feel that you're discriminated as being an Asian? No, I do not feel discriminated. Actually, I feel like it's a nice plus for me because I am different. I'm 6 foot. I'm an Asian dude. I wear 3-piece suits in kind of rural America. That helps me stick out. I don't mind sticking out. At the same time, I think that my view on race is a little bit different. So I'm going to just give you a nice story. So when I was a kid, when I was about five years old, my older brother's just a year older than me. My dad was dropping us off at elementary school. And my dad pulls up. It's kind of the quick, kids drop off. And we're in a 1968 VW Bug, right? We're not super, we're not high on the hog. And so we get out. My dad is working at the time for Unical 76. He's got a PhD in chemistry. He's a super brain when it comes to technical stuff, especially in the oil industry. So he's dropping us off, then he's going to go to work. And so he drops us off, and a couple kids there scream at my brother and say, "Hey, Chung Lee and Chung Lo." And so they say this racially charged phrase. Don't know what it really meant back then. I was 5. And you don't really understand that there's a difference of you, the way you look versus other people. You're a kid. And my dad, so my brother and I, we immediately look back at our dad to kind of, how should we respond to this? Is kind of our thoughts. And my dad laughs hysterically. And laughs. He's like, like I can still remember in my mind's eye seeing Pops. I don't have a lot of memories as a kid, but this is one stuck out. My dad laughed about it. And from that, every single one of my siblings and I, we always would steer into any racially charged comments. Hey, you guys have slanted eyes. Yes, we do. It's how it is. It's amazing that we can see. Hey, you guys eat weird food. You bet we do. We don't let anything go to waste. We'd always steer into those racially charged, somewhat ignorant comments because that's the way it is. And a lot of times, so if you meet me, there's good odds that I'll make a joke about being Asian before you even say something. I might even introduce myself as Sherm the Crazy Asian. So by steering into that comment, it just became what we were. And so my dad left a profound impact on me when it came to handling racially charged comments. Good question. Rizzi's asks, what do you enjoy most about creating videos? I enjoy the most about creating videos is having an impact on one person. So one of the first videos that I made for Facebook publicly was about how I felt like, so I pulled out a dollar bill and I said, this is how, what's the value of a dollar bill? $1. Sorry, I don't have a dollar in front. Oh, I do. So here, I'll just reenact this video. I said, what is the value of a dollar bill? $1. So if I crinkle this thing up and I go, you're a piece of garbage, I hate you, you're not going to amount to anything, spit on it, throw it through the mud, what's the worth of this dollar? Still a dollar. But yet this is how people are treated sometimes in life. And so because of that video that I created, one person said that meant the world to me. I don't know if you made that for me, but that totally hit home with me. And his comment was literally, not literally, figuratively speaking, fuel to the fire of my presence on social media. His one comment exploded me. It gave me the oxygen to be able to continue to make more stuff. And so for me, that's all I care about. One person going, Sherm, that really meant a lot to me. And I said, perfect. Let's keep doing it. So someone asked, what's the ROI of social media? To me, it's unlimited. That one person impacting their day, phenomenal. That's what matters to me. Where did the Crazy Asian come from? For those that don't know, went to college at BYU. It's very common that you would hear me before you even saw me. And I love getting to know people, love talking to people, would always introduce myself to professors. So in classes of like 300 kids, a lot of times the professor would refer to me in name just because I introduced myself. And then when I'd walk between classes, typically it only takes 5 minutes, right? Class to class, building to building. For me, it would take about 45 minutes. I would stop and talk to everybody. Hey, what's going on? How you doing? Yeah, let's go do that. Let's go do that. I loved just engaging and hanging out. I got involved with student body. I would MC like with the DJ. I would MC other dating games. I just had a blast in college. And so when my friends would introduce me or be like, oh, you don't know Sherman? They'd be like, Sherman, the Crazy Asian. And that's how it started. That's how they would introduce me, because it was just really easy to be like, yeah, you know that guy. And he's all over the place. I also had a pair of rip-away pants and rip-away shorts. I'd always be ripping off clothing, taking off my shirt. It was just what I love to do. Now I'm much more conservative. I don't rip my clothes off because that's just not appropriate anymore. I'm not 18. Okay. And by the way, that was all done sober. That's Crazy Asian. Then Roma Kaya asks, how do you overcome obstacles and keep yourself motivated to do your best every single day? So number one is, I didn't have any like awe-inspiring moment here, but I love every day. I do. Like, people are like, oh, I love Fridays, I love Mondays, I love Sunday. I love every day. I do. Because it's a day that I'm alive. The moment that I'm dead, I no longer have an opportunity to make any kind of lasting impact on anybody. My family, my wife, my friends, my associates. None of it matters if I'm dead. So for me, I'm just like, okay, so I'm going to love today. What do I got on the calendar? I'm going to love tomorrow. And so for me, in my mind, if you don't like the weekend, something's wrong, right? If you love your job so much that you don't enjoy the association with other people on the weekends, you got something wrong. Like, you need better friends, you need a better family life. If your life sucks so bad that you're like, oh, I can't wait, or like your work life, like I can't wait for the weekend. Like on Wednesday, you're like, okay, 2 more days, then we got the weekend. Then again, something's wrong at work, and you need to change something. So, or have a look at changing something. That's how I stay motivated. And at the same time, focus on doing what you need to do. What gives you energy? I think a lot of people get burnt out is because they get stuck in doing a lot of the things that they don't want to be doing. Hold on one second. I need to grab a charger. The laptop's gonna die. Next question is from Fleur Gummy. What sort of content for financial advisors and entrepreneurs do you offer? So the big one is, if you look at the YouTube channel, for entrepreneurs, I talk a lot about just different strategy on how they can leverage the business. I give some specific advice when it comes to a whole multitude of just different entrepreneurs, whether they're starting out or growing it. And that's some of the tactics that we end up talking about. That one's pretty powerful. And so I'd say it's the same for financial advisors. When it comes to sales, marketing, strategy, a lot of it applies. Just put it into the realm of financial advising. It's pretty similar. Talk about referrals, asking questions, sales process, those kinds of things. So it definitely can hit home there. Christian Luigi asks, what strategies are best for increasing and motivating engagement with your followers on social media networks? So I break it down to 4 main things. First ones I call pillars. So know your audience: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, YouTube, Vero, Musical.ly. Again, understand the different platforms that are out there. Understand who's there, and understand who are you trying to speak to. Next is content. And so I've kind of break this one down into, there's 4 ways to really kind of create content. You either create it because you're super creative. 2, you're You're going to DJ it like a teacher. You're going to be able to explain it to others. Next is you're going to do like a Q&A, kind of like we're doing right now, and creating content. And then finally, you're going to basically journal and tell people what's going on. So that's the 4 ways of doing content creation. So Instagram, you're about to close down. I'm going to restart it. 4 seconds to go. Okay, so